Hello, it is time to start the ranunculus corms. Here we go. I'm heading down to the basement where I've been keeping the corms so that they could be in a space that was fairly stable and dry. And hopefully I didn't order them too early and have them start to sprout or do something weird. When I open these bags, they're going to look like they're dead, which they're not. They're just dormant. And what we're going to do first is soak them. So let me get the camera turned. All right, so all of my ranunculus corms this year are from a company called Easy to Grow. I bought them quite a while ago, assuming that they would be okay to just wait down in the basement. So I've got some rose color, some white, some merlot, and some red. So it should be a really pretty combination. The red is a little bit bigger bag. I feel like there's 10 of each, so they just must be bigger corms. Let me get these all opened up, and then I'll set up some bowls with some water so I can keep them separate, so I can keep track of which is which, and I'll explain the soaking process. All right, I've got 4 bowls of water. Everything from when I peeked down in here looks okay. When you get a corm, like I said, it's going to look dead. It's very dry looking. The goal with soaking is to basically rehydrate these. So we just want to stick them in a bowl of water, and they're going to stay in here for around 3 or so hours. You don't really want to leave them overnight. Oh, that's a big one. I wonder if I can separate. Look at that. That's a much bigger one. I wonder if we can separate that once it gets soaked. Maybe. My original goal, I grew some ranunculus last year, and ideally I should have been able to, once the plants were done, I should have been able to dig up the corms, let them dry out, and save them. But I don't know if it's where I had them. I don't know if it was because I put too many other things near them. But the corms were just really small. So I just wasn't able to get anything that I felt like was worth saving, and I just decided to start over. And now this year, I'm going to try to be a little more careful. The other thing I did last year was I did this pre-sprouting process with this bag is very noisy, about half of my corms last year, and then did it early like I am this year, so that I then put them in, got them sprouting, and then I put them in like 4-inch containers or so and let them grow on inside, so that when I planted them out in my garden, they did pretty good. I actually got blooms. I enjoyed them a lot. The other half I pre-sprouted right before it would be time to put them out in the garden. So not as many of them actually grew plants. And the ones that never bloomed. So I don't know if they got too wet outside or what happened. But so this year I am pre-sprouting all of these early here in late February. And the one adjustment I'm going to make to what I did last year is the pre-sprouting is something that we're going to do, and I'll show you that in a 10-20 tray, and just in some soil. We'll put them all hopefully in the same tray, and I'll label which section is which color. And I'm going to try leaving them. I watched Flower Hill Farm The gal that does that blog or YouTube channel, she's a flower farmer. She makes a lot of really nice videos. She's also kind of funny. Anyways, she, I noticed, left her pre-sprouted corms in a tray until they already were growing into plants, and has just kind of left them there. So I'm going to try that and wait to pot them up just for sake of space, because I'm doing so much indoors this year, and see how that goes. But that'll be for a later video. So anyways, I'm going to put a little more water in this bowl to make sure that everything's covered and submerged. And what I'm going to do is set a timer for about 3 hours. And then every, 20 or 30 minutes, I'll come out here and give these a little stir just to make sure that the oxygen doesn't get depleted as they're soaking. Some videos that I've watched about doing this have suggested, if you can, having the water kind of trickling into the container where you're soaking them. I also have seen lots of videos that have said that's not necessary. So I'm just going to put a little more in this one, and then I'm going to watch, like I said, these, stir them up, and then we'll put them in a tray with some potting soil. See you soon. The ranunculus corms have been soaking for, somewhere between 3 and 4 hours, and you can see that they are quite a bit more pliant. Is that the word? No, pliable. They're softened up, but they're not mushy. Nothing's, falling apart, but you can see they've also kind of swollen up and are a lighter color. So what I'm going to be doing now is taking these and putting them into a tray. Ooh, look, that was a couple put together. So that's something else to kind of check. When the corms are this large, you may actually have more than one there. I'm not really applying pressure. I'm just sort of wiggling them a little bit. And look, ooh, came apart. So that actually is probably 2 or 3. There might even be, even that might separate. We'll see. All right. So what I'm going to do is drain the water off of these, and then I'll show you putting them into, I've got just a 10-20 tray that's got some potting soil in it. I'll make sure that it's moist enough to not have anything dry out, but you do have to be very careful not to let these get too damp while they're in the soil, or they will rot. So let me get all of these drained, and then I'll show you putting them in the potting soil in the tray. All right, so here we go. I am basically, all I'm going to do is take the ranunculus corms. I've got a layer of about maybe, half an inch or so of the soil here. It's just enough to kind of have them to have something to kind of nestle into. And I'm going to be placing these so that the, what looks like a little tip here, that's where the plant's going to grow from. You can see these still have a few roots left on them. And I'm just going to place that facing down in the soil and keep moving on. Sorry, I'm trying to look at this really big one to see if it might come apart. It doesn't seem to be. I don't really want to force it. So I'm just going to stick it right here and keep moving on. So sorry about that. I'm trying to do this and wasn't paying attention to where the camera was pointing. Apologize. So I just am going to keep placing these here with a little bit of distance between each other so that they have space to leave them in here for a little bit once they start to sprout and grow their plants. And I'm just placing them like this until I get them all placed. So everybody's all here now, nestled in. I've labeled. I just wrapped the stickers off the paper bags and on plant sticks, put a few plant tags in between. And now I've got my jug of potting mix, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top so that they're kind of nestled into between 2 layers of potting mix. It's already pretty damp straight out of the bag. So there's definitely no need to add any moisture. In fact, I'm going to have to keep my eye on these to make sure that it's not too wet in here for these guys. If it's too wet, they will tend to rot. I had some last year. Last year was the first year I tried to grow ranunculus, and I had one of the trays that I tried to do this pre-sprouting. I had several corms that just were too wet. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was kind of watering the potting mix, and it got too wet, and the corms were too damp and they rotted. So this year I'm going to try not to do that, keep kind of a delicate balance of enough dampness to have them not dry back out, but not so much. Okay, container potting mix, so much that they get too wet. So I'm just kind of covering everybody with this potting mix, and then I don't know if this is supposed to be a good idea or not, but I think I might put just a little bit of vermiculite on top since this feels so wet, to just kind of hold on to some of the moisture until it's needed. And I'll just monitor. I'd rather add a little water than have them be too wet. So I think these are ready now to basically be covered up and let them work on growing some roots and some sprouts. Thanks for joining me here today, pre-sprouting some ranunculus in Aunt Susan's garden. So P.S. here they are all nestled in there. I've put a humidity dome on top just to keep this black plastic bag up off the top of the dirt, and I've opened up the vents to try to keep the airflow and moisture levels from getting too high, and then put this over top so that it'll stay dark, and I'll just check on it every few days. So there they are.